Hey, it's Shay, your millennial mom next door, and today we're getting into what you should be doing to start your influencer business with $0 and not a lot of followers. And I'm gonna show you exactly what I did to start mine. Now, recently I posted a question box on my Instagram story asking you all to drop your questions that you had about content creation, becoming an influencer, how to grow your influencing brand, and I have my laptop here so I can make sure to answer you all's questions as we go throughout the points of today's video. So step number one into starting or growing your influencer business is I need you to see yourself as the influencer that you are. I think that so many people get caught up in seeing the influencers on their timeline, their Explorer page as these big brands with all these followers and making all this money. And what you're not realizing is that person had to start from somewhere and they became an influencer in their everyday lives before they were paid for it. So you need to see yourself as the influencer that you are. For example, think about the last time you had a really cute outfit on, or maybe you tried a new lip gloss or did something new with your hair and somebody asks you, yo, where'd you get that from? Or girl, who did your hair? Or, oh, I love that shade of lip gloss on you. Where'd you get it from? You probably just organically recommended it to whoever asked, whether it was a stranger or a family member or a friend. That's influencing. If someone goes and buys something, books a service, or looks something up simply because you suggested it, that is literally what influencing is. And I need you to understand that that genuine, authentic, and organic influencing is what companies are looking for. People who show up and give product suggestions and talk about things that work for them in their everyday lives, that is what makes the perfect influencer. So the fact that you're probably already doing it anyway for free, you already are an influencer. So whatever definition of the influencer that you were thinking before, I need you to erase that completely and understand that anybody who recommends, whether it's a product, a service, a good, or just anything that they use or anything that works for them, anyone who recommends it and people follow their advice, they're an influencer. Every single person walking this earth has some type of influence, whether it's on strangers or their family and friends. And the only difference between them, the everyday person, versus the people who are monetizing from it is that we understand how to capitalize off of our influence and structure it into a business, and we have discipline to create the content to bring in more followers strategically and to grow our brand so that we can get better brand deals and higher paying deals. That's the only difference. But again, you are an influencer, I'm an influencer, we all carry some type of influence. It's just a matter of what are you going to do with your influence and how are you going to structure your brand so that you can get paid for deals. So a big part of step one is understanding your own influence and figuring out what is it that you want to sell. And I don't mean that you're gonna go and start a company actually selling and making products. I mean, what is going to be your brand? Are you going to be branded as a lifestyle influencer, beauty influencer, home organization? You need to figure out what makes you happy. What are the things that you actually like to talk about organically? And what are the things that you actually love to give advice about? That is what is going to make your influencer business successful and not feel like work and very like monotonous, like having, you know, your 9 to 5 that you may not like. Because if you were just recommending products that you had planned on using anyway, now that you're getting paid for it in the future for your business, it won't really feel like work. I mean, yes, obviously there will be some days where it's a drag because you have a list of things to do, but in the long run, when you think about building your brand off of products that you genuinely use and like to recommend, it will take you a whole lot further than you just showing up and creating content based off of whatever you think is popular or whatever you think your favorite influencers are doing. It's not the same. You need to have an idea of what is going to be your organic brand and platform. So one of the questions I got from my story post the other day was, how do I figure out what type of influencer I want to be? That is a really good question, and I think that a lot of people struggle with that because there's so many products that you can recommend, right? Like, for example, if you really love hair and makeup products and you have a shelf or a drawer at home full of things that you use, naturally you might want to recommend that, right? But let's say that you also are into fitness or you also are into painting and you like arts and crafts and stuff. There could be a billion things in your life that you like to use and maybe you don't really know where to start. First of all, you want to figure out what is something that you're organically, naturally recommending anyway. You may love playing in your hair and doing your makeup, but is that something you can see yourself building a brand off of? You see yourself as a beauty influencer, meaning that if you only do your hair and makeup or skin routine every once in a while, you're not really consistent with it, then maybe that's something you don't want to become an influencer in, because at that point, it's gonna feel like a drag. If you're not used to always doing your makeup and always doing your hair, then you don't wanna become a beauty and hair influencer because you will have to build your entire brand off of recommending beauty and hair products, and it's just not gonna work out. However, if you're someone who loves to cook and you literally cook every day, then you getting into the habit of organically sharing the cooking supplies that you're using and the ingredients to the recipes you're coming up with, that's something that could just come natural to you because you love to cook. That would be the perfect idea to become a food influencer, because again, you're doing something that you would do anyway for free. And that's really the art of influence, capitalizing off of something that you don't mind doing every day for free anyway because you love it and you have a true passion for it. Another good thing to keep in mind is, what are people always asking you about? If you think that you want to become a nail influencer or hair and beauty influencer, but sis, ain't nobody ever asking you about your nails or your hair, then maybe that's just really not your avenue. And that's totally okay. Sometimes we get caught up in maybe like the look of something, like it looks cool to be a beauty influencer, or it looks cool to be a hair influencer, or maybe it looks cool to be a travel influencer, right? If you were someone who thinks, oh, I want to be a travel influencer because I want to get paid to go on free trips, that might not work out for you. For example, if the last time you went on 2 or 3 trips, nobody was asking you questions about it, nobody wanted to know how your trip was, outside of like your immediate circle, nobody's really checking for you on these trips, then 9 times out of 10, that might not be your ministry, but that's okay. There could be other things that you are passionate about that you're not even realizing can be a part of your influencing brand. Again, you want to make sure that you are creating an influencer brand off of something that's going to come natural. You don't want to force it. I have seen so many people who start businesses based off of maybe clothing or, you know, shopping and styling, and it's not sustainable long term because they don't actually like to dress up other people. They just like to get dressed for themselves. There is a big difference between styling yourself and styling other people. Again, you want to make sure that you are creating an influencer brand based off of what comes natural and what people are already coming to you asking questions about anyway. So this leads me to step number 2. My second piece of advice for you is to use what you got, okay? There's no need to go and spend a bunch of money that you may or may not have on starting an influencer brand when you probably have things just laying around your house that you use anyway. Remember, the point of this is to remain authentic so that your audience knows they can trust your judgment. These companies and future brands that you're going to work with know they can trust you to show up always authentically as yourself. So what you're going to do is literally walk around your house, look into your bathroom cabinets, look in your kitchen pantry, look around your bedroom, your living room, and look at the things that you use on a daily basis and start writing them down. For example, I'm sitting in my office right now and I have a laptop case from Amazon. I have a phone case. I have a remote for my camera. I have a comb over here. I have this mirror here. These are things that I've organically bought and I use them every day. So a part of my lifestyle influencer business, because that's what I am, I'm a lifestyle influencer, I'm gonna be recommending all of these products because these products are a part of my everyday life. And that's something you wanna consider when you're starting your influencer business, whether you're gonna be in the beauty industry, the food industry, the hair industry, whatever you're gonna be influencing in. Think about the products that you're already using. For example, if you're really into skincare, go open your cabinet in your bathroom and look at all the skincare products that you're using on a regular basis. Start writing them down and figure out how you want to just talk to your audience about it organically. Whether you're just talking on your story, telling your followers about a new lip scrub that you found at Ulta, a new eye cream at Sephora that you just want to tell them about because it's worked for you. These are the things, again, that companies are looking for. People who show up and talk to their audience about the stuff that they actually use. Now, another good question I was asked was, how do I give product recommendations without annoying my audience? I don't want to lose followers. This is a really good question and something I feel like so many of you all struggle with. Let me explain something. You actually want to lose followers. I know, it sounds crazy, but trust me, you don't want people following you that have no interest in what you're influencing. If your goal is to eventually create, let's say, parenting content, and you want to recommend products that you love to use for your baby or your toddler, your children, why would you want people in your audience that follow you that don't care about the fact that you're a parent and don't care and don't have children and don't care about children's content? It doesn't make sense. If you are a current or aspiring, let's say, fitness influencer, and you're making all type of content about nutrition, how to eat, calorie count, how to work out, maintain energy, you know, all the things about living a healthy lifestyle. Why would you want people in your audience that are following you but not interacting with your content because they don't care about a healthy lifestyle? That doesn't make sense. That's actually going to bring your numbers down because it's going to mess up your engagement. You want people to unfollow you that aren't interested in what you're posting about. The longer these people stay around, the more your engagement is going to suffer.
So they need to go.
Please don't ever stress about people unfollowing you, because as you're creating more and more content, your page is going to purge yourself, removing people that aren't meant to be there. In place of that, you will see new followers come in that are interested in the topics that you're creating content for. Those make the best followers. You want an audience that is truly into what you're posting about on a daily basis, because those are going to be the consumers that actually take your product recommendation serious, and they're going to ask questions in the comments. They're going to leave their own feedback and share their own stories. Again, you just don't want people following you that are not into what you're posting about. I also want to address the other part of that person's question, because they have a fear of being annoying. That's something that I know so many people go through, and I'm here to tell you, if you're offering value to a person's timeline, you're never going to annoy them, because you are helping them. And that's the art of really good content and the art of being a good influencer. You're showing up to help somebody. You're giving your testimonials off of products you've used, services that you've done, or maybe even things that you've just incorporated in your life. The way that you exercise, the way that you meditate, the way that you sit down and journal. These are all things that are supposed to be bringing value to a person's timeline. So you're not going to come off annoying if you focus on that. What can you do to serve your followers? What are you doing to enhance the quality of someone's life? I know it can sound dramatic, but I'm just making content. How am I enhancing someone's life? Don't take for granted the things that you do on a regular basis, because I'm telling you, you may be sitting on a bunch of tips and tricks that can really elevate someone's life. I'm gonna give you an example of this. Not too long ago, I was on my Instagram story simply talking about how I decided I was gonna go to sleep about 1 or 2 hours early every night, so that way I can get up the next morning 1 or 2 hours earlier. And I was explaining how I had less fatigue, better energy levels, and I was in a much better mood so that I can run errands and handle my day-to-day tasks and spend time with my child and not feel real groggy and cranky. It was just simply because I decided I was gonna go to bed earlier and wake up earlier the next morning. And I had also recommended a book called The 5 a.m. Club that I was reading that really walked through why you should structure your day and wake up earlier, and it just was a really good book, so I just wanted to share it organically on my story. The book company did not pay me. It was not a sponsored post. Again, I was just showing up, telling my audience something that worked for me as a new mom. You wouldn't believe the amount of DMs I got about how much me just sharing that little bit of advice has changed so many people's lives moving forward. A lot of moms end up buying that book and reading it and thanking me later, telling me how much it helped them, telling me how they're getting up earlier now, they have more energy. And I was just really surprised, because again, I was just showing up on my story, giving my honest experience and just trying to show up and talk about my struggles with energy levels and how, I was always tired and I felt like I didn't have enough hours in the day, and how this book helped me. And there were even women who don't have children who were just saying, yo, this book helped me because I feel like I'm always doing a million things. I'm all over the place. I'm unorganized. And now I feel like I have a better structure on my day-to-day life. Thank you. These are the type of messages I was getting just for simply showing up and sharing. That's what I want you to think about the next time you sit down to create content, or the next time you just have some spare time and you want to get on your story and talk to your audience, which you should be doing on a regular basis anyway. Think about things that are helping you in your everyday life, or maybe lessons that you learn, and share them. And this is definitely going to be helpful for you all who are in, let's say, industries that offer services. If you're someone who does hair, who does makeup, or even someone like who's a real estate agent or into finance, things that you take for granted that you just know off the top of your head are second nature, that could be a game changer for the next person. If you're a makeup artist watching this right now and you know how to do like a wing liner, or you know how to put on a false eyelash in like 5 seconds flat and it comes out perfect, to you that's common sense because it's something that's so easy. But to the next girl, she's gonna be like, oh my God, where has she been all my life? I should have been following her. She's so helpful. Like, you would be so surprised at the amount of knowledge and information that you have that you take for granted that can really help someone else. If you're someone who's into real estate and you want to make real estate content, just think about the very basic things that you didn't know when you first became a real estate. Things that maybe you tell your family and friends and they're surprised when they find out. That's the type of content that you want to make. You want to show up for your audience and always be serving. You want to make content that answers their questions. Even hopping on Google and doing very basic search questions, I do that all the time. I'm sure right now one of your followers is stressing about how they're going to buy a house. They think because they have, I don't know, bad credit, or maybe they had a repossession in their past, or something went wrong where they had to file bankruptcy. They think that they'll never be eligible to buy a house. But you know, because you are in the real estate industry, you know that that's not true. And you know maybe 2 or 3 steps how they can fix their credit. Or maybe you have knowledge on how they can work around not getting this type of loan, but applying for a different type of loan and getting approved. Things that you know, and again, you take for granted because it's common sense to you, the average person might not have any idea. Maybe you want to become a skincare influencer and you know know that, hey, you should be washing your pillowcases every week, washing your makeup brushes, and things that, again, you take as common sense, the next person may not have ever thought of that. There could be someone in your audience right now, one of your followers, who hasn't changed their pillowcase in over a month, and they haven't washed their makeup brushes in the past year, and they're not even realizing that that's a part of their breakouts. And just simply seeing the tips that you gave on that on your page could be a game changer for them. I can go on for days with different examples depending on what industry you're in, but the point is, don't take for granted the tips and tricks that you have learned, you have gained over the years, and you may think that everyone knows it. They don't. Make sure that you're showing up to share what has worked for you. And think of it like this. Let's say that you're sharing information that you think is pretty basic and everyone knows. You may have a fear that people are gonna show up in your comments like, oh, I've been doing that, or oh, you late. That's not true. And if that is, I mean, you can just delete the comment. Here's what's probably going to happen. So when I started my thrifting business, Good Girls Thrift is my resale business where I resell thrifted pieces and other things I found at like secondhand boutiques. And when I first started that business back in 2020, I was just showing up organically speaking about my love for thrifting. And I started getting so many new followers leaving comments that fell into one of two categories. Either A, they were people who never thrifted before, or maybe they thrifted once or twice and they felt like they weren't really good at it, or they didn't have the patience for it. And then the other group of people were people who love to thrift. So when I started giving my advice on thrifting, like make sure you go on a full stomach, have a good playlist, go early in the morning on a weekday, find out the weekday that they do restock the floor and go first thing when they open. Like when I started giving those type of tips that to me were just really easy and like common sense tips because I'm a thrifter, I know how to thrift. These people over here were like, oh my God, I never thought of that. I be real hangry when I'm out. I have no patience. Next time I'm gonna make sure I have a full stomach and I eat first, and then I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna be in the zone. I'm gonna wear comfortable shoes. Like all the tips that I was giving them, they were just so surprised by it and they loved it and they started following me. So that was this section of people over here. Then this section of people over here that already knew all those things because they were thrifters too, they became a part of my community. They still follow my thrifting page because they knew that, oh, she's just like me. She loves to thrift. She has this in common with me. I do the same thing too. I also like to thrift on the weekday, or I also like to get up early in the morning and be the first person in line and make sure that I have on comfortable shoes. You know, these people over here, they were a part of my community because they could relate to me. I was making content that they understood and that they were practicing in their everyday thrifting lives. And when you start creating organic content, that whatever it is you want to build an influence off of, there will be two categories of people. Well, really three. One category back there that doesn't care about what you're talking about. They're gonna unfollow you, or they'll see your page and keep scrolling because they're not interested, but we don't care about them. They're never gonna be a part of your community. Don't waste your time worrying about them. You're gonna have this group over here who is brand new to your page, your audience. They had no idea about all these fun facts you're giving, and they're so excited and they're ready to join your tribe, and they have so many questions, and you're gonna make content that educates this group over here. Then you're gonna have your other group over here who was already a part of your tribe. They just didn't know you yet. They're into the same things you're into. You all are gonna share advice and tips, and you're gonna learn from each other because they are already in the field that you're in. So again, you got your people in the back who don't care, your people who are new and fascinated and interested in what you got going on, and your people who are just a part of your game because they've been doing the same thing. These are the two groups that you need to be focused on. And I promise you, if you focus on creating organic content for these two groups, you will see your community on Instagram, TikTok, whatever social media platform you're using, you will see that community grow because you are creating content to serve these two groups of people. Again, we are not worried about the people in the back. The next question I got is something that at least about 30 people ask. How do you get brands to notice you? And this is probably the most popular question I always get. So this brings me to my step 3, understand aesthetics. Now, this is something I feel is holding a lot of you all back. And I'm not saying this because I want you to go and buy some expensive camera or hire like a crazy expensive photographer. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that you need to simply align the aesthetics of your page to match the content that these brands are already paying creators to make. For example, if you love the company Dove and you love all of their products, you're always using their stuff, you're always recommending the newest Dove products, and you know that one day you want to get paid by Dove to make content, you need to be going on Dove's page and going under their tag photos and looking at the hashtag like Dove partner or add Dove, Dove ad. You need to be looking at all these pieces of content that they're already paying for and then aligning it up with your content and see if it looks the same. And I don't mean looks the same as in you need to go copy what these creators are doing that are already getting paid by Dove. But if you can obviously see that when you're looking at Dove's page and also the content that Dove is paying creators for, and it looks very clean cut, a lot of white background, backgrounds. You know, a lot of like skincare and wellness companies like the color white, and they like everything to look very like clean and neutral. Then on your page, when you're doing product reviews or unboxings or recommendations, you have a very cluttered background. Maybe your bathroom is a mess, or you can see like dirt on the mirror when you're talking about the products you're using. That's not gonna cut it. Companies are not going to pay you to create content when your content does not align with their brand aesthetics. It just simply doesn't work like that. So when it comes to understanding aesthetics, I mean understanding the aesthetics of the brands that you want to get paid for in the future. Because right now you have not started, or you're still in the building phase of your influencer brand. There's definitely still time to change and grow your aesthetics. Like, as you all know, I make a lot of motherhood content. I've worked with some of the top motherhood and baby brands out there. And one thing I've noticed that's consistent whenever they send over the creative brief, which is basically like the outline of the content and the rules and things that you can and cannot do, they always have very, very specific guidelines about what you can show in the background. For example, I might be making content about baby food. I can't have any other brand showing in the background of the content. The baby has to be sitting in a certain position. The baby has to be strapped in their high chair. When I'm feeding the baby or giving them the bottle for the content, nothing else can be in their hands. It's just very little things that you probably wouldn't even notice with the normal eye, but you, as a current or aspiring influencer, you need to pick up on those things. So you need to become a student of the game when it comes to these brands you want to work with. Whatever brands that you want to get paid to make content for, write all of them out in your notes and then go stalk their pages. Go look at the creators' pages that they're posting and tagging, and look to see what is it about their content that is different from yours. And you can also look to see what is about their content that you like, but that you think you can do better. And that's something that brands will definitely appreciate when you start to pitch yourself, which we're going to talk about in a future video. When you start to reach out to brands, or if a brand reaches out to you, these companies want to hear what your ideas are. So it's not just good enough to say, oh, I want to get paid by Dove to make content, or I want to get paid by Target to show their products. No, that's not good enough. You need to have ideas in mind. You need to already come up with creative campaigns and act as if you are the paid influencer that you want to be. One of the things I love about being a content creator and a full-time influencer is that whenever I get a creative brief, there are guidelines and, things I have to follow, but for the most part, brands trust my judgment. Brands will ask me, what do I want to create? They will ask me, well, how can you incorporate this into your life or your child's life, whatever the product is or the service? They'll want me to share my authentic story. Best believe, when you're getting paid to do these collaborations, these brands are not just coming to you saying, okay, here's exactly what you need to say, exactly what you need to post. No, you're a content creator for a reason. These brands, 9 times out of 10, unless it's like a very specific campaign that is like promoting a product that has to be used in a certain way, maybe for safety reasons. Aside from that, they usually give you full creative control, especially when it comes to some type of lifestyle content, because they want you to organically share how you're using that product or service in your everyday life. So if you're not really a creative person who can look at a product and immediately start to think about ways to incorporate that into your content and have all these ideas, if that's not you, then becoming a full-time influencer might not be for you, because a big part of your job as a creative is to create. And if creating content isn't something that you like to do or that you're good at, then you got 2 options. You're gonna have to get better at it or find a different career path, because full-time influencing just may not be it. Now, another tip I have for getting brands to notice you is to simply tag them. I know what you're thinking, like, well, they're not paying me to tag them and they're not about to have a spot on my page for free. First of all, humble yourself. If you're just starting out and figuring out how to scale and grow your influencer business, you need to think of all this as like an unpaid internship. There are certain things that you're gonna need to do to put yourself in position to get seen. Just like if you were working at like a fancy record label, or maybe you wanted to be a lawyer one day. No one wants to hire a lawyer that they've never seen win a case. Nobody wants to hire a lawyer that they have no faith in because they've never seen their work. They don't know what they're capable of, right? Like, who's gonna put their faith in you when you've never shown proof that you can do the job, that you can win the trial? And that's why a lot of lawyers, when they're first starting out, they're taking cases pro bono, they're working at the public defender's office, and they're giving legal advice for free. Why? Because they want to build up their portfolio to show they know how to do the job. Just like if you were working in the fashion industry and you wanted to be a big time designer, you'd probably have to start by doing sketches and creating designs for free at first, just hoping that somebody's gonna wear your dress, or hoping someone's gonna wear your handbag or pair of shoes or whatever you came up with. You're gonna have to start from somewhere. It's the same thing when it comes to being an influencer. When you first start out, you need to be making organic content and sharing products that you use for free. Again, that doesn't mean that you have to spend a bunch of money on products just to go and promote them. No, absolutely not. This goes back to step number 2 when I was telling you, go around your house and look at the products or think about the services that you use on a regular anyway. That's how I want you to treat this as you're doing your unpaid internship. Create organic content that you know aligns with that brand's aesthetics, because eventually you do want to get paid by these brands, and make sure that as you're posting, you're tagging these companies. Now, of course, this won't work for every platform, but what I love about Instagram is that when you tag a brand, they automatically get a DM request. And that's perfect because you never know. One day someone could be going through that's running the brand's Instagram, and they could be scrolling, looking for new talent to work with, and they see that you've tagged them 3 or 4 times organically. They're gonna be like, wow, let me pass this over to my supervisor or whoever's running this campaign, because I think this person would be really good to reach out to. I'm telling y'all, this is how I have gotten countless emails about campaigns, because I was already organically tagging the brands, and after doing it over and over again, one day someone happened to notice and they reached out to me. I am telling you, consistency with doing that will pay off. Now granted, that doesn't mean that literally every day you need to be posting and tagging these brands. Like, don't be annoying. Don't be like all up in their inbox begging them for an opportunity. Like, nah, you ain't gotta do all that. What I mean is, every now and then when you are creating content featuring certain products that you truly believe in and use, make sure that you're tagging the brand, dropping a couple of hashtags in the caption. You just never know. One day someone might reach out to you. Now, the last question I'm gonna answer is another one that I get all the time, and it says, how do you stay consistent? This is something that I swear everybody and their mama, including myself, be struggling with. I don't care if you are a top creator, a top brand owner, a top CEO of $1 million company, staying consistent can get difficult. I don't care who you are. But honestly, y'all, I think the first thing you have to do is define, what does consistency even look like to you? Some people think that consistency as a content creator means posting every day. I do not think that. I think posting every day can be great if you can keep up with that type of volume, but the average person just can't. Now, for me personally, when I first started growing my influencing business, I was dedicated to posting at least 4 to 5 times a week. For me, that was my definition of consistency. No, I wasn't gonna post every day. No, I wasn't gonna post multiple times a day. But what I wanted to do was get my audience used to seeing me on their timeline. And what that may look like for you is, you're gonna post every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on your main page in a reel, or if you're on TikTok, on a TikTok video. And then maybe on Tuesdays and Thursdays, you're gonna post polls and questions on your story, or maybe on Saturdays, you're going to go live. You need to figure out a structure that works for you. Nobody can tell you what your personal definition of consistency is. Figure out a plan that makes the most sense for your lifestyle. Like for me, before I became a full-time influencer, I was already working from home. So what worked for my brand might not work for the person that has 2 jobs, that has to commute back and forth. It's not realistic for me to expect them to create the same amount of content that I'm creating, because I'm working here from my laptop at a desk at home, or from the couch, or from the bed, or wherever I feel like it, and then I can create content in between because I don't have to commute to work. So it would be unfair for me to expect someone else who has to get in their car and drive maybe 20, 30, even 40 minutes to work every day, then sit in traffic, come back, and maybe even stop at the grocery store. I mean, they have a lot of things going on. They don't have the same lifestyle and structure as I do. So you need to sit down and figure out what makes the most sense for you. Is there a day of the week that you know, okay, if you're a parent, the kids are gonna be gone with maybe a family member, a friend, and you can have some peace and quiet to create content for yourself. If you have a day of the week like that, you need to be batch creating content in that one day. Even if it's just 2 or 3 videos that you're creating, you can edit them later, but if you know that you have time for peace and quiet, make that day your content creation day. Now, maybe you do have a remote job and you don't have to commute, but you don't have a lot of free time because your remote job may be very demanding, or maybe you have a child that you have to go pick up from daycare, and maybe you're the designated cook of your relationships, you have to meal prep. There could be a lot of things going on. Just because you work from home doesn't mean you have a bunch of free time, right? So you're gonna have to sit down and figure out, okay, since I do work from home, what are the hours that I can block off? Maybe at least 30 to 45 minutes to plan out what I'm gonna say in like some type of script. Or maybe on every Friday, I can block off my calendar and act like I'm in a meeting, but I'm really creating some type of content from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. You need to figure out a structure and a system that works for you, and don't let anybody else tell you what's right or wrong, because it's all based on your life. Nobody else is living your life. A lot of your favorite influencers are not really sharing the behind the scenes millions of how much time that they really put into creating content, from drafting and scripting to editing. And a lot of them aren't even sharing that. They have outsourced and hired an editor. So you may be over here comparing yourself, which you shouldn't do, because we all know comparison is a thief of joy. But I mean, I understand, we can't help it sometimes, right? You're looking at your favorite creators' pages and you're like,
oh my God, they're posting every day, sometimes 3 and 4 times a day. I'm barely posting once or twice a week. I'm not doing something right.
When you're not realizing that they had to get there. They all started from the same point that you started at. A lot of content creators have extra revenue now where they can hire out editors to edit their YouTube videos for them, photograph them, taking their lifestyle pictures. They just have help. So if you are someone right now who does not have that luxury, or maybe you just don't want to put that much money into your business right now, I totally understand, because I'm still editing my own videos. It is a lot. But what you can do is come up with a system that works for you. So that is what step number 4 is, which is our last step of today. Create structure and find discipline. You need to dig deep in yourself and figure out what is going to be your constant motivation to keep you going when times get rough. Because creating content on a consistent basis, whatever that consistency looks like for you, it's not always going to be easy. So for the days that you just don't feel like recording, that's going to be your driving force to keep you motivated. And maybe you need to write that down. Like when I first started and there were days where I just didn't feel like doing it, I would have like post-its of my goals written on my mirror. So when I would go to the bathroom or even go to my refrigerator, I would put post-its on the front of the fridge. There would be little reminders telling me why I started. Maybe that's something you can do for yourself. Have little reminders around, like in your work area, by your laptop, places that you frequent often, like I said, the bathroom, the kitchen. Make sure you have constant reminders of why you want this influencer in business in the first place. And I really need y'all to understand that discipline doesn't come from grand gestures like going and buying yourself a new camera or hiring an editor or changing up a space in your home to shoot content. I mean, those are nice things as well, but that's not discipline. Discipline comes from the small little things we do every single day to become just a little bit better than the day before. So what that may look like is going to bed earlier or waking up earlier. Remember how I told y'all earlier how I was sharing my testimony on my timeline about reading that book that changed my life about waking up earlier? That was something I chose to do because I wanted to have a little bit more discipline. If I know I have to be at my remote job by 9 a.m., logged on and doing work, I need to wake up by 7:30 so that I can make sure I brush my teeth and shower and do my face routine, make myself some breakfast, maybe even go on a walk or exercise in the morning. And I need to be journaling or planning out content before I start my work for someone else. I need to work for myself. That is the mindset that I had. And that small change I made in my schedule served me so greatly in the long run. Because it helped me to develop more discipline. And you are going to need a large amount of discipline to become successful in anything, not just a full-time influencer. Anything that you really want to see yourself excel in, you're going to have a great deal of discipline to get it done. A big part of creating structure and finding discipline is knowing what are you willing to sacrifice. I know for my ladies out there, we love to get dressed and go to brunch and hang out with the girls or go on a date night. Honestly, you may need to take a step back and reevaluate some things. When I first started growing my influencer business, I can admit I did not want to say no. If my man wanted to take me to dinner or my girls wanted to link up and go to happy hour or go to brunch, I didn't want to say no, but I knew I had to. Why? Because I had to find discipline. If I had worked all week and didn't find any time during Monday through Friday to sit down and create content, then I had no business going to brunch on Sunday Fun Day or going out on a Saturday night if I hadn't created anything Monday through Friday. That's what I want you all to think of in terms of structure and discipline. You need to stop rewarding yourself for bad behavior. A lot of us want to be bosses, but we don't even know how to hold ourselves accountable. But isn't that what a boss does? When is the last time that you worked a job and had a boss that rewarded you for not doing your job? Think about it. When is the last time you got extra bonus in your pay, or they gave you a free day off, or let your team leave work early because you all weren't performing? That would never happen. That's what I want you all to consider when you think about being your own boss. If you're going to be a full-time influencer, creating content, editing, coming up with ideas, being a creative in general, it's going to require some sacrifice. It's going to require you to learn how to say no. It's going to require some long, lonely nights when you're just sitting up with me and my laptop or me and my notebook, me and my camera, editing, shooting, figuring things out by myself, you are a one-man band. It's just you. You are your own boss. And remember, this is all very temporary. I was not sacrificing date night and going out with my girls and having fun forever. When I first started and I was trying to grow and scale my influencing business, I had to sit down and figure out a system where I could reward myself, but only when I deserved it. Again, I am my own boss, right? So I would tell myself, okay, if you can create at least 4 videos by this day and then edit them by this time on this day, then you can sit back and watch Handmaid's Tale for 5 hours. I would literally bargain with myself, and I know it might sound crazy, but sometimes that's what it's gonna take to create extreme discipline, because the average person just doesn't have it. The average person is used to following rules, following orders, and answering to someone else. So when it comes to being your own boss and holding your own self accountable, we love to make excuses. It's so easy for us to say,
I worked really hard today at my job and I deserve a break. I deserve a treat. I deserve to go get Starbucks and just sit on the couch and relax.
and yes, you do deserve that, and you should be giving yourself grace. Like, you don't want to stress yourself out. But ultimately, what sets those apart who are doing something as a hobby versus turning their passion to a lucrative business is discipline, is structure. If you don't want to take the time to pour that into yourself and really set yourself up for success by having discipline and structure, then you just don't need to run a business, and that's okay. I really think that people just glorify entrepreneurship and full-time content creation, the full-time influencer life, as something that everyone should strive for, and I am totally against that. I don't think that this lifestyle is for everyone, because if it was, everyone would be successful in it. Just like I don't think having a standard 9-to-5 or a corporate job or working for the city, working for the government is for everyone, or everybody would be successful in that. I think that there are 2 sides of a coin for a reason. There are some people who are just really good at helping someone else build their dream. They like to take direction, they have amazing ideas and know how to be a leader for a team. They may not want to put all that time and effort into doing it for themselves. A lot of people see the value in having a steady income and steady paycheck. And let me tell you, that is something that I definitely miss when it comes to this influencer life, honey, because you don't know how much you're gonna get paid. Of course, yes, over time, as your influencer brand grows, we'll start to see an average of how much money you're gonna make every month. And it's awesome because your potential is never gonna be capped when it comes to making money as an influencer. However, there is a lot of value in having a structured 9-to-5 where you know how much your hourly rate is gonna be, or your salary for the year. You know exactly how much money you're bringing in. And maybe you can even have some extra income coming in, having a side hustle. There's a lot of value in having a regular standard job. Don't ever let someone devalue that or try to convince you that you're tripping just because you want to work for someone else. That is a lifestyle that needs more glorification. But for those of you who are interested in running your own brand and becoming a full-time influencer in the entrepreneur space, you are going to need extreme structure and extreme discipline, or else you're gonna have a very expensive hobby, which nobody wants. Now, I didn't get to all the questions I had on my story because I didn't want to be here all day, but to sum it up, step 1, understanding your own influence. Step 2, learning to organically share the products and services that you use anyway. Step 3, understanding aesthetics and make sure that you're looking at what the brands are already posting and already paying for. Step 4, which is probably the most important, learning to have discipline and create structure for your brand. Now, those are just 4 pieces of advice I have for you. Of course, I have a ton of more tips and advice to give, so I'm thinking about turning this into a series. Go ahead and drop a comment with any questions that you have on this topic, and make sure you like this video and subscribe to my channel for more tips on content creation. See you next time.